This video in particular today is absolutely crazy because we have leftists openly admitting to being tyrannical and planning together live, not in private, but live on their social media about how they can censor their opposition. This is not the Twilight Zone. This is not some sort of insane fever dream. This is actually just, well, it is an insane fever dream of the Marxist psychopathic resentment these destitute people have for reality and other humans. But this is real life, is what I'm saying. 5 or 6 of the most depraved, low IQ, stuffy, cowardly freaks that are self-admitted leftist propagandists. And of course they're propagandists because they don't believe in any intellectual ideas, and they admit this here. This is the fundamental difference between the left and the right. There's so much broken, there is so much completely destitute and reprehensible about this. I could talk about it for hours before I even play the video. So I'm just gonna play the video and we can get into it.
Especially because Nazis don't, like, open neo-Nazis.
They over and over again refer to any person who isn't a part of their insane cult as a Nazi. That's what they're doing. Imagine being that disconnected with reality and the nation in 2025. The reason they feel comfortable doing that is because they think themselves superior while being fringe and psychotic and deluded. This is what their radical cult does, is it tells them they're good people as a result of saying inane things that are designed to do warfare with sanity, like men can get pregnant. Just had to close my window because I don't want my neighbors to bomb my apartment. They definitely voted for Kamala. Yeah, I'm in California, it's a problem. But I got lucky that this video was recommended to me on X. Someone clipped this. Thank goodness someone clipped this. The left needs to be exposed for the depraved lunatics that they are. This is not normal behavior. Every single person here, though, is literally a self-admitted propagandist and terrorist, starting with Hassan, who is definitely the worst. His goals, as stated on camera, are to lure unsuspecting, mentally incapable people into the cult of communism so that he can overthrow the West. And he's been exposed by Ethan Klein in depth. I recorded a video on that. And then we have paid shills by the Biden administration, which tweet anti-truth statements deliberately on purpose, things that are overtly the opposite of the truth so that they can get engagement. Every person here is mentally unserious. The left has no public intellectuals.
Nazis don't necessarily care about the truth at all. They just want, like...
It's so inane. It's so totally insane to hear Hassan say they don't care about the truth when he admitted to be a propagandist on camera. Dude, they don't care about reality. To them, the truth means adhering to their cult, because there's no such thing as the objective validity to ideas. Only if you adhere to their identity status categories. This is totally insane. We're basically witnessing, guys, people within a cult that is more radical than any documentary you've watched on Netflix about cults. What you're witnessing here is genuinely 5 to 15 times more deranged and extreme than any cult you've ever heard of or studied. Because this cult here tells the most mentally incapable, deranged humans of Earth that they're good people and that they're better than everyone else and that their ideology supersedes reality itself.
They just want a platform. They will lie to you knowing full well that they're lying to you, and they don't necessarily care about the truth at all. And every moment that you waste...
Again, totally insane, beyond the pale to hear Hassan say the word truth after he's admitted to be a propagandist, which means that you don't care about truth.
Arguing with them in general is a moment where they're still getting in front of people and
This is important to understand right here, guys, because when they talk about the only thing that mattering being influence, this is the reason why they felt so comfortable censoring people, because they only believe in power. They don't believe in merit. And of course they don't believe in merit. It makes sense they don't believe in merit if they think that the only thing that determines the validity to an idea is adherence to their cult, because then the only thing that matters is whether or not you're a part of their club or not. There's no such thing as anything besides power, and so the only thing they talk about is how do we keep our opposition from hearing the ideas. It's so Neanderthal. It's so subhuman. It's utterly like it's intellectually banal to hear someone say, act as though the only thing they need to worry about is whether or not people can hear their opposition. And of course, they're calling their opposition any person that agrees with Nick Fuentes of all people, or any person that's a Nazi. Like, do they not recognize that the nation voted for a majority of people? Of course they don't, because they're psychopathic. These people are definitionally, psychologically speaking, meeting the definition of psychopathy. From the popular vote to having every single public intellectual, from Jordan Peterson to Ben Shapiro, to take your pick. We have all the mentally capable people. But again, that's not important to them, because to them it's only club membership. That's the reason also why the left wing purifies its ranks into morons who can't think. People who are completely mentally shattered.
Maybe even convincing them. Nick Fuentes, I would say, is a particularly good propagandist in that vein. So I've always had a never platform Nazi policy, with the only exception being that if they reach a certain point of prominence, or if they're getting highlighted by mainstream outlets like
This is what Hassan tried to do to Andrew Tate. He tried to ignore him until Andrew Tate was literally the most famous man on earth, and then he just tried to slander him. Obviously that failed, and people were just posting pictures of Hassan wearing dresses. That was really an interesting couple months. But again, they only believe in power. They don't believe in debate. They don't believe in the intrinsic merit of an idea. And you saw this at the school that I went to that turned Elon Musk's son trans, called Crossroads. It was an extremely left-wing environment, and this was back in 2018. I've heard it's gotten a lot worse since then. But a person's opinion, a person's statement in a classroom, its intrinsic worth was determined by the identity of the speaker. If it's a black girl, automatically right. If it's a white guy, you don't even need to worry about it. You just forget what he had to say.
Spencer used to get a lot of coverage from the New York Times in the first Trump era, and I would lose my fucking mind. I would do pieces on it all the time. But with the exception of reaching a level of national prominence.
If you notice, all the people on the screen are psychologically destroyed freaks. That's very interesting as well. They're all losers who are ridden with resentment for reality, for masculinity, for the men who embody their wrongness. That's very interesting.
I always I always urge people not to engage with Nazis at all. Especially if you have a large platform, you know what I mean? You don't want that shit to spread at all.
You're seeing in real time leftists admit their psychopathy. And what's funny is Hassan's about to say, I'm not sure where you guys align politically, if you agree that the entire destination of our movement should be full communism, but he justifies why he's saying what he's saying, which is that we don't care about truth anyway. We only care about influence. We only care about power, not convincing people using logic.
I think deplatforming is shown to work, right? As much as I criticize the Biden regime, I think.
Bro, do you understand that this is actually a leftist club, and they just said deplatforming works in the year 2025? Are you aware of this? These people believe they're good. How do we have people believing that they're good humans while advocating for censorship in the year 2025? How? This is psychopathy. This meets the psychological definition of being a psychopath, of having a mental illness. This is freakish stuff. The polls have completely shifted from before, where the societal outcasts were on the right. These people are outcasts. This is crazy.
I think deplatforming is shown to work, right? As much as I criticize the Biden regime, I think that seeing Nazis off of Twitter did a lot of good towards isolating them from being able to gain more followers.
You understand, they're talking about you. They're talking about any person that doesn't believe a man can get pregnant. Oh my gosh, you must be a Nazi. These are the type of humans who, again, call themselves good people and think themselves better than you, while being a part of this fringe, insane ideology that prints counterfeit virtue as a result of being a membership. No, we don't accept your counterfeit we don't accept your counterfeit bills of fake virtue here. Not accepted.
I don't remember ever seeing Nick Fuentes clips until the Elon takeover, and I think that's a direct product of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Dean. I think of
this is like a window into a padded room at an asylum.
a lot of problem is like Hassan saying.
I actually think that's Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross kind of like tried to like mainstream.
There's so much resentment going on in the lives of these people. They just start blaming anyone who disagrees with their cult, any person who's big that isn't, universally demonized by a huge swath of the population. Aiden Ross, so it's Aiden Ross's fault Trump was elected. Oh my gosh, it's Aiden Ross's fault people don't agree with that men can get pregnant.
Fuentes.
It's Aiden Ross's fault that people don't think men should be able to compete against and abuse women in sports.
So I think the reason why is it just there was a correlation causation sort of moment.
No,
and all these people want to get rich off of their audience while they slander capitalism, by the way. It's insane.
Where
it's Destiny. He's the one who initially...
It's Destiny's fault now. Oh my gosh. Destiny's one of you guys. He said he was glad a firefighter died at a Trump rally. Oh my gosh.
Vitalized Nick Fuentes' career. He had him on. He like debated him at his house.
Talking about Nick Fuentes, like, let me just do a quick, a short list right now. In terms of influence on the right, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino, Tucker Carlson, Crowder, the guy with the long hair, and I don't remember his name. You guys know who I'm talking about. Used to be an actor. Brett Cooper, Michael Knowles, the other people from the Daily Wire. But no, oh my gosh, Nick Fuentes, yeah. See, they can't debate ideas because our ideas are better than theirs. Because everyone who's a public intellectual on our side of the internet has an average IQ 35 points higher than these people at minimum.
House, they ate chicken and waffles together.
Honestly, it's probably more like 45 points.
His phone number. He gave his fucking phone.
Keeping in mind, too, that when you practice leftism, most technically, because you have to demonize objective frameworks and notions of coherence, you actually disconnect the neural pathways in your mind for learning. Because when you're a part of the left, there's no need to learn. You already know that you're a better person. There's nothing new to learn because anything a person says is determined by their skin color or sex. So you don't have to learn anything new. So not only are they lower IQ on average, but they're basically unable to think on a technical basis because they've just not practiced it for so long.
Phone number to Adam 22 so he could go on like the pod.
This is what they've practiced instead: slandering any person who disagrees with them and saying and talking about in meetings how they can censor people. It's bizarre, dude.
Podcast route and go on all these podcasts. There's like a clip of him literally being like, "Why doesn't he appreciate me more? Like, I literally made his career. I gave his..."
A bunch of leftist damaged people complaining about someone else's
phone number to Adam 22, and it's just like that's what I worry about all the...
He's clutching a fuzzy blanket. You can't make this up, dude. Yo, I'm so glad I found this video. As soon as I saw this, I was browsing X. I was like, I gotta record analysis. This is so crazy, guys. You see how crazy this is?
Time when I see people that are all engaging in debate where I'm like,
isn't it so scary? Oh my gosh, it's so scary when people who disagree with us get to talk.
You don't ever want to lose yourself in
dealing with people who disagree with you, right? Because then you have to use logic, reason, rationality, contend with an individual identity, a bunch of things that are untenable to the left-wing cult.
Becoming this guy that only is in it for like dunking on people and in sight of like a greater political project.
There it is. That's what I was referencing before. The greater political project, ending the West. This is the reason why Hassan is friendly with terrorists, supports Hamas, list goes on. I mean, he advocates for communism fully and admitted that on camera. If you don't know about that, go check out the video I recorded. It's about the H3 Hassan situation a couple weeks ago. It's on my channel.
That you might believe in. I don't know what everyone's political background is here. So
yeah, Dean, it all comes back to the idea of like normalization, right? Like even if you're going in there and shitting on them and like everybody sees it as like the logical sentiment is there. Like if
that's what this is about. They're all shaming this guy, Dean, for talking to Nick Fuentes, which he did like a couple months ago. That's what it is. Wow. The left really does eat their own. Man, it's so self-evidently wretched. This is like going to a zoo and seeing what broken humans look like.
If they get anywhere near a platform.
This is proof, by the way. Shout out to Andrew Tate. This is proof that mental illness does exist. I'm coming out in disagreement with Andrew Tate. Mental illness is real, and this is what it looks like. Because it's not just lying, and it's not just Satanism. If you believe you're superior to others while rejecting logic, reason, rationality, and sanity, and saying any person who disagrees with me shouldn't be allowed to talk, that goes beyond those definitions of Satanism. And I mean, maybe it doesn't go beyond Satanism, but it goes beyond lying for sure. That's an illness of the mind. 100%.
And then they're like, and you see it so much in like a macro sense. I talk all the time about like the normalization of like fucking fight or like,
Yeah, I bet you talk about that all the time.
however many years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, like Trump's holding like an LGBTQ plus flag on stage, and we're like arguing with MAGA about how like they're like, oh, see, he loves everyone. Now that's like would be unheard of, and it's just the idea of like you start to get into
What? The conservative position is completely fine with gay people. You can't indoctrinate kids into being trans at school because that's not good. Also, you're not, self-evidently
these
immoral.
spaces where people are able to like suggest horrible.
Desensitized.
Yeah, they become desensitized because even if you do
This is thoroughly identitarian.
and never really shit on them,
Wow.
then maybe
Good point.
like just on a one-on-one level, like you go on live and someone comes up and they're like,
And of course, they get shit on endlessly and constantly, but they never mention that. They only believe, oh my gosh, yeah, we're taking endless W's. These people in 2025 think they're taking endless W's. They probably don't actually think that. When they're alone, they cry, they clutch their fuzzy blankets to their shins. But these people are deranged freaks.
like, oh well, I think that they're just being completely logical. Oh, I think that like Fuentes shit on you, blah blah blah, and it becomes like a normalized thing to debate.
Whoa, what did he just say? The audience, it becomes purely logical and then disagrees with us?
On a one-on-one level, like you go on live and someone comes up and they're like, oh well, I think that they're just being completely logical. Oh, I think that like Fuentes shit on you, blah blah blah.
Wow. Openly coming out against logic. Let's go. Leftism in 2025.
And it becomes like a normalized thing to debate when there was no debate to begin with. Like there was
Right. Because any person who disagrees with us is automatically bad.
never coming out of it with logic, and what that causes is like this normalization. And so like it's exactly how
that's
I'm
a
like
good way to put it.
It's exactly
Donald Trump is a literal case study in this.
Yeah, it's exactly how the Republican Party operates, and actually how like Hassan.
Any person that's not a part of their cult is a bad person that cannot be engaged with, because these people who demonize logic and reason and coherence and rationality as inherently oppressive and toxic are actually the ones that use those things. Oh my gosh, we're the ones that use logic while we demonize it. Oh my gosh, we're the ones that support science while they say men can get pregnant. These people, again, you're watching in real time like a group of people in a padded room. They're psychopaths, they're mentally ill, and they don't realize it.
On like in some ways, even though I have disagreements with Hassan, like you've talked about like the idea like how Republicans are able to use like when they want to get something done, they don't care about the public opinion around that thing, where Democrats may view like public opinion as like weather. They need to like constantly change their views based on what people are thinking. Like Republicans knew however many years ago, a decade ago, that like it being kind of this anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment at the time, at least publicly, was not nearly as popular, but they didn't care. They just started to like push it and normalize it, and now all of a sudden like it's very normal to say like horrible, awful things. And so like it's not really
Disagreeing with us is so horrible and awful. Actually, the identity of the Republican Party, and I recorded a video on this literally yesterday, the identity of the Republican Party is just reality. If you care about reality, if you care about truth, you find yourself on the Republican Party, because all the public intellectuals who are intelligent and use logic and care about science and have interesting in-depth conversations are literally all on the right. Not because they're conservative or alt-right, but because the left abandoned them as they went off a cliff of insanity catering to delusional low IQ freaks like this.
really about, I think it's it's less about like you determining the line and more about like it's just constant like normalization. And if there was never a debate to begin with, like after you went on and then like the whole thing happened with Fuentes, Aiden Ross DM'd me and was like, do you want to debate Fuentes? And I was like, no, because I'm obviously much smaller than you, much smaller than any of them. But again, I'm like seeing like it's just like I'm like, I could do that, but you're just like bringing people, you're just normalizing a conversation that it was never a conversation to begin with. You know what I mean?
Chris,
So
I was
wait.
thinking,
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was thinking about that too, because Dean and I had like a small conversation about like whether or not he should do it or not. And I was half mind of it, because although I agree with you, Chris, that there's a normalization going on of it in part, but at the same time, these ideas are growing and we need people to push back, because
Our opposition is growing. In 2025, we can admit that our opposition is growing after a historical defeat in these people are less than 5% of the populace, by the way. Less than 5%. This is so insane fringe. But again, they think that they're the majority. This is what makes it mentally ill. This is what makes it bananas. The left takes people and it preys on people who already have broken brains. but then it radicalizes them into thinking that they're intelligent, the majority, and superior. Very, very ridiculous. But that's, of course, the heritage of the Democrat Party, believing that they're superior to others, if you think about it.
We are losing our like memory of these things.
But why are they growing? That's the question.
No,
It's like to
they're
Mason's point,
growing.
and also probably have
It's so crazy to watch these people not understand. Like, it's a mystery to them. Logic and making sense and morality and religion and cohesive societal fabric and masculinity. Like, do they actually genuinely, like, when they're asleep, falling asleep on their bed, head on the pillow, do they tell themselves that the reason Andrew Tate is popular is because he's trafficked women? I don't think they actually believe that. Surely they must be aware that through their endless attacks on masculinity and logic and rationality and morality and truth and science and religion and any form of coherent objective framework whatsoever, including the ability to think in any field of study, that they've created the people that have just refuted them and destroyed them. I think that they must be instinctually aware of that at minimum. Now, obviously, they're not going to admit that, because what they're doing here, guys, isn't a conversation. They're not engaging in a system where they're trying to make progress. What they're trying to do is claim victimhood here, and they're trying to decide how they can move forward in a place that is parallel to reality and logic and rationality and taking accountability for anything. Because, again, they're a part of a cult that tells them that they're above reality, that they're outside the purview of objectivism.
many disagreements with. Like, again, like you're seeing these things grow because like Musk gets Twitter, people stop getting deplatformed, and then all these conversations just become normal.
Oh my gosh, isn't it so annoying? The most competent, impressive man, arguably in the history of the planet, just allowed people to say what they want freely. That's so annoying. I mean, you're seeing this,
Normalized.
Yeah. No.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. As we're debating them, we're like,
they're struggling to realize how free speech works and how logic works. Actually, there's they don't realize this, but there's a majority. If I were talking to them like they were third grade and I was explaining how it works, I'd be like, so most of the people in the world develop their opinions not based on if a cult tells them they're a good person, but if it makes sense or not, and if it betters their lives. Those two things are really what most people cares about. Is it logical, and does it make my life better? And to them, it's just like, oh my gosh, can I claim victimhood status? I must be a good person. Men can get pregnant. It's a parallel way of operating.
causing them to be more
I think what Matt's saying is that like the normalization comes from the fact that people have these beliefs in the first place. So you have to address that people have these beliefs. My point in terms of a content creator is that you address it if they already have like
these people are so psychopathic, they believe that their insane cult of anti-reality is what must indoctrinate everyone. This is the reason why they don't believe in objective reality. I can't even listen to any more of this. It's so bizarre. It's so bananas, dude. This is bananas. I've debunked. I think this video, because I want to keep it short enough for the YouTube algorithm, is encapsulates a lot of how important it is to debunk and reveal these insane freaks for what they are. It was insane to come across this video where a group of the most insane deranged leftists literally talk about how they can deplatform, censor, and not contend with ideas of people who they disagree with. Incredible. Subscribe to the channel, bro. Subscribe to the channel. Oh my god.